So, very good evening, friends. Today, we'll complete chapter 7. So, chapter 7, we had started regarding the social impact assessment. We understood the concept, we understood the steps in conducting social impact assessment. Then we saw some of the approaches: qualitative approach, quantitative approach, monetization approach. Then we understood the importance of conducting social impact assessment for different stakeholders. Different organizational models we saw. There was an outsourcing model where we outsourced it to some outside agency. Then there was partnership model. And third was the integrated model. So these were the three approaches. So fully integrated model. And there are definitely advantages and disadvantages associated with each such model. Then there was do-it-yourself approach. So there are certain tools which are developed by some organizations. We saw those tools also, which can help you in impact assessment. Then we understood this theory of change also, and this theory of change and the various parameters associated with it. Examples of theory of change, this also we have seen. And then we understood by way of an example also. So there are various guidelines and various tools for impact assessment. There are national guidelines on responsible business conduct. This also we have covered. Then these are the principles. Then framework, IRIS framework, we saw. This also we have covered. And dimensions of impact management project, who, how much, what contribution, this all we have seen. Now, Global Impact Investment Rating System, GIIRS. So this Global Impact Investing, so we were somewhere here. So this Global Impact Investing Rating System is a comprehensive, just a minute. So I am making Suni Chakoji and Girish ji as co-host, है ना? तो प्लीज कीप ऑन एडिंग पीपल. अगर कोई आता है तो उसको ऐड कर लो, कोई भूले भटके आ जाए उसको ऐड कर लेना.
यस सर.
नहीं तो हम तो अपनी कथा कर ही रहे हैं.
ओके सर.
है ना? सो ग्लोबल इम्पैक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट रेटिंग सिस्टम, GIIRS. What is this? This is Global Impact Investing Rating System or Investment Rating System is a comprehensive and transparent system for assessing the social and environmental impact of developed and emerging market companies and funds with a rating and analytics approach analogous to Morningstar investment rankings and Capital IQ financial analytics. So GIIRS assesses social and environmental impact and practices of companies and funds using rating methodology that has been now used by 6,000 companies. So it's an online assessment tool which offers both the company and the fund impact ratings. So it issues a composite score of social and environmental performance, which can help a company to earn incremental positive points. So these ratings can be comparable across companies and fund sizes. Details of the rating system are available at GIIRS website. So this is a rating system which gives a composite score, and this has been used by more than 6,000 companies. Next is Global Reporting Initiative. So this is an international non-profit organization. GRI is an international non-profit organization which was established in 1997 in partnership with United Nations Environment Program, UNEP. So sustainability reporting standards have been developed to enhance transparency and accountability of economic, environmental, and social performance of organizations. It also offers a comprehensive sustainable reporting framework. So these standards are available for all types of organizations from different sectors, which allows them to report their impact in a credible way. So this can help the organizations to develop their strategies and set goals and targets. So there are three categories under GRI standards. So first is the GRI Universal Standards. So these GRI Universal Standards, these are applicable for all the organizations. They describe critical concepts, process to use these standards, details of organizations' policies, and activities and processes to use sector and topic standards. Then GRI, sector standards, and GRI, topic standards. Now, framework introduced by Multilateral Development Agency, UN Global Impact, UNGC. This UN Global Compact offers companies to align their strategies and operations with 10 principles covering human rights, labor, environment, and anti-corruption, and guides companies in achieving sustainable development goals. So over 9,500 companies and 3,000 non-business signatories from over 160 countries are associated with UNGC. So UNGC derives its principles from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the International Labour Organization's Declaration on Fundamental Principles and Rights at Work, the Rio Declaration on Environment and Development, and the UN Conventions Against Corruption. So this box describes the principles of UNGC, UN Global Compact. Human rights, this is principle number 1. So business should support and respect the protection of internationally proclaimed human rights. And second is, make sure that they are not complicit in human rights abuse. So you are not involved directly or indirectly in human rights abuse. So that is also principle number 2. Then regarding labor, there are certain principles like business should uphold the freedom of association and effective recognition of the right to collective bargaining. Principle 4 is elimination of all forms of forced and compulsory labor. Then effective abolition of child labor and elimination of discrimination in respect of employment and occupation. Then regarding environment, principle number 7, it says that businesses should support a precautionary approach to environmental challenges. Eighth principle is that it should undertake initiatives to promote greater environmental responsibility and encourage the development and diffusion of environmental friendly technologies. Then principle 10 relates to anti-corruption. Businesses should work against corruption in all its forms, including extortion and bribery. So these are the 10 principles of UNGC. In India, Global Compact Network India, it was formed in 2003 and it was registered as a non-profit society to function as the Indian local network of the Global Compact, New York, giving membership to over 500 leading business and non-business participants in India. Now, this framework of impact funders with operations in India. So there is a Omidyar network. This Omidyar network is a social change venture which invests in the social enterprises working towards strengthening the community. They partner with funders, advocates, scholars, businesses, innovators, and others in the developmental areas. This Omidyar Network India has made investments in the areas like education, digital society, technology, financial inclusion, and self-sustaining cities in order to ensure accountability of these organizations and impacts created by these investments. Omidyar Network has developed its own impact measurement tool. So this tool captures impact at 2 levels. First is the direct impact. That includes reach, number of people impacted, depth, quality of life improvement, and inclusion, percentage of customers from the bottom, 60% of India's income distribution. And second is the sector impact. That comprises imitators. Organizations have replicated or adapted the investees model, follow-on capital raised by the investee after ONI funding, contribution to impactful ecosystem change. So they aggregate the results obtained across all investees and assess progress at the level of their initiatives, their strategic pillars, and as an organization as a whole to capture portfolio impact. Next is the Avishkar model. So Avishkar India Micro Venture Capital Fund, it was started in 2001. What was the vision? The vision was to provide leadership in rural and underserved regions of India. So it focused on encouraging and incentivizing aspiring entrepreneurs to launch business and demonstrate to investors that profit and positive social change should be generated at the same time with their model. So AIM VCF assesses the business model prior to investment, not only in terms of profitability, but also with the potential social impact. Investments are made only if investee's business model meets with the following criteria with respect to social change. The first is that the company's products or services, they must impact those living in rural or underserved India. The company's products or services must reduce the direct or indirect cost of the targeted populace, which they would have otherwise incurred while assessing such basic services. Then use of company's products must result in improvement in yields, efficiencies that translates into increased incomes for the targeted populace. The operations of the company must provide increased employment in a geography where limited employment opportunities existed before. The business must result in the creation of a transparent and more effective distribution or efficient distribution chain, resulting in better income for rural producers. So today, with number of companies under Avishkar Group, like Arohan, Ashwa, Avishkar Capital, Avishkar Foundation, and IntelliCap, so they are making investments in various sectors like agriculture, livelihoods, climatic change, clean energy, financial services, gender and inclusion, healthcare, water and sanitation. So these investments are made with focus on its alignment to environment, social and governance practices. Third is the Indian Social Responsibility Network, ISRN. This Indian Social Responsibility Network is a platform created for professionals from diverse sectors to channelize their services to underserved society. So it provides services like capacity building, research, implementation of development projects, and offers membership to companies and voluntary organizations. It allows companies and social organizations to network, share their knowledge and resources. So this platform can be used to develop and share effective impact measurement tools across different types of organizations. So understanding CSR requirements of companies and social interventions of voluntary organizations. Now, impact reporting. Social impact from a beneficiary's perspective is inherently difficult to measure because it cannot be readily expressed in monetary terms. So there are qualitative changes which you are making in people's lives. So this does not, however, imply that all forms of social impact are equally difficult to measure or that effort to standardize the measurement of social impact are bound to fail. So there can be some sort of standardization. For instance, delivering emergency relief and basic services in sanitation, water and house is easier to measure than impact on public policy or on good governance, freedom and rights. Societal transformation, such as improving human rights or democratic conditions, involve multiple actors and causal mechanisms that are still poorly understood. So in such a case, it is recommended that it can still be useful to try to measure what an organization is doing and whether its strategies are working to influence societal change. So naturally, it is difficult, but it can be done. Types of impact reporting. So impact reporting is communicating the difference made by the organization or the social change to the stakeholders. Impact reporting can be in the form of an independent impact report, or it can be part of an annual report or sustainability report. The format and contents of the impact report depend upon the objectives of conducting social impact assessment, time and resources available for social impact assessment, and stakeholders for whom the report is documented. For instance, the social impact assessment is conducted due to regulatory mandates. Then, the report will be prepared based on the guidelines laid down by the government. Suppose there is some regulation that, okay, you have to do this impact reporting. So then basically the guiding factor will be the guidelines laid down by the government. If social impact assessment is conducted for a single program or project for internal requirements of the organization, then the impact report can be an independent report or the findings can also be included in the annual report. Now, reporting impact to stakeholders can help the organization in following ways. First is we can review the impact against vision and goals set by the organization. So when we started the organization, there were certain vision and there were certain goals. Now we can review by way of social impact assessment to what extent we have achieved our goals. Second is creating a learning organization where people focus on results and adapt and improve services. Then We can encourage employees, volunteers, and board members through celebrating achievements, building trust and credibility amongst various stakeholders, and sharing lessons, challenges, and success stories with organizations working on the same social cause or having similar social interventions. So these are the advantages. As discussed earlier, social impact assessment can be carried out using different tools and methodology. We have seen various tools. So an organization tracking and monitoring social impact assessment on a regular basis can show the impact over a long period of time with trends. An organization using the theory of change method can express impact in terms of a map showing input, output, outcome, and impact. Impact can also be documented in terms of compiling success stories. So these are the various types. First of all, there can be a map which can show input, output, outcome, and impact. Second is it can be documented. We can compile success stories or case studies. So generally used format for impact reporting is detailed qualitative report covering objectives, scope, data collection, and analysis of the impact assessment. Then the direct impact on target community. The direct impact would imply changes seen as a result of the intervention in the intended target group, who are also the key stakeholders of a program, project, activity. So direct impacts are material or critical to account the performance of the social enterprise and link it to its social intent. Direct impacts are seen in the immediate time frame and cannot be excluded in the impact reports. So each taxonomic classification within the social audit standards will guide the set of indicators to capture direct impact, and these indicators should get included in the impact scorecard. So evidence gathering of direct impact indicators will be a critical component of the social audit plan. The other important term herein is the target community. So every NPO or social enterprise will have an area of intervention where the program, project, activity is implemented. This target community will be mentioned or established by the NPO or social enterprise. Now, systemic impact. Of the many social changes these NPO or social enterprises address, some intervention extend beyond one specific target group and geography or across discipline. So in such an intervention, the resultant change and the intended impact will not be on one target group or beneficiaries, but at the systems level. So this is called systemic impact. So it is a system-wide or systemic impact. Systemic impact will take a medium or long-term intervention to reach its logical conclusion. Thus, in an impact report, it will be necessary to see the past performance trends of the social enterprise to see the progress on systemic impact. So an example of systemic impact is the passing of the Right to Information Act, which empowered citizens to demand transparency and accountability from government institutions. Aruna Rai and Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan were instrumental in this. Another example will be a training and capacity development intervention for teachers with the DIET, District Institution for Education and Training. The intended outcome is to impact changes in instruction methodology, thereby impacting the learning level of students. Because this DIET is an institution which is imparting training to would-be teachers basically. So the outcome is to impact changes in instruction methodology. So those who are instructors at the DIET institution, so they will naturally, they can change or modulate their methodology or strategy, and which can impact the learning levels of students. So some other examples of systemic impact are education department managers. Their 21st century leadership skills. Teachers education focuses on 21st century skills. Now, what are the components of impact reporting? Let us see. Findings of social impact assessment can be used for the organizations for discussion with different stakeholders. So final report on social impact assessment should include qualitative, quantitative, and financial aspects to provide a comprehensive picture of social value created by the organization to various stakeholders. The report should also be as short as possible while meeting principles of transparency and materiality, which stakeholders should be interested in reading and should get quick required information. So following are the components of social impact report. First is an executive summary, which is aimed at all the stakeholders. Then information about the organization, its vision and mission, key stakeholders and activities, description of the scope of the social impact assessment, details of stakeholders involvement, methods of data collection. In case of quantitative or monetary approaches, details of the calculations, and a discussion of any estimates and assumptions, impact map, theory of change map, then any assumptions and limitations underlying the analysis. So these are the various components of impact reporting. An audit trail for decision making, including which stakeholders, outcomes, or indicators were included and which were not, and a rationale for each of the decisions. Then building impact scorecard or evaluation criteria using key matrices. Past trend analysis and case studies or quotes from participants that illustrate particular findings. So these are all the part of the social impact report. The annual impact report typically performs a dual role. Namely, it prepares a trend analysis of the NPO or FPSC performance, and it provides a baseline and midline for successive years. So past performance trends are applicable for ongoing programs or projects or activities and are crucial to be covered in social impact assessment reporting. The past performance trend.
So here it is a baseline and a midline. What is mean by midline?
Actually, the baseline is the period when your activity has started. Suppose a social enterprise has identified poverty alleviation as their program. So baseline will be when their activity started. Midline will be, suppose they are envisaging a 3-year period. So midline will be 1.5 year when they are in between.
Oh, okay.
And endline will be when they complete the activity. So baseline, midline, and endline. So past performance trends are applicable for ongoing programs or projects or activities and crucial to be covered in social impact assessment reporting. The past performance trend helps the management to introspect or tweak its practices and project management skills so as to optimize its output and impact. So past performance also helps the management in introspection. They can modulate their practices and project management skills so as to optimize its output and impact. Then a positive trend will also imply that the target population is being positively impacted. So further, these trends are helpful in attracting potential investments. So along with positive changes or effects, it is crucial to report even negative impacts of the social interventions in order to reduce the adverse effects in the future. So it can include future recommendations or modifications based on the same. For example, if the performance trend dips, then the for-profit enterprises or NPO will be accountable for the same. The cause of a dip in impact or inability to reach the target may be internal, related to the NPO or the social enterprise, or external. So there may be some regulatory interventions or natural or man-made calamity like pandemic, etc. Then change in the social political situation, political party changes, and their philosophy is not in line with the philosophy of the social enterprise. Then reasons or causes for underachievement also need to be reported. So both the positive impact as well as negative impact needs to be reported, and it is crucial. The negative impact or changes are also equally crucial, and the factors could be internal or external. And after NPOs and
here one doubt that this is a positive and negative impacts. In the case of negative impacts, whether it leads to qualified opinion.
No, it's not that. Actually, because this social impact reporting is done, say, on a periodical basis. So the ultimate aim is to take it to the logical conclusion. So whatever the end result we want to achieve, so that we can contain our negative impacts. Suppose there are some internal reasons for negative impact. Suppose the surveys which we are doing are not in line, they are not able to capture the desired change. This could be one. Or some political ideology is in confrontation with the ideology of the social enterprise. That could be an external factor. So we have to contain the internal and external factors which are leading to a negative effect. Basically, the idea is to improve. Like if a student doesn't perform well in the preliminary tests, so naturally the parents get a signal that okay, he needs improvement. So similar is the thing here basically. So negative impacts also help us in improvement. So after NPOs and FPEs have listed their securities on social stock exchange, they will have to produce an annual impact report. So here annual impact report is there. So there is a mandate of an annual impact report if you are listed on the securities stock exchange. So the details are discussed in chapter 9. For impact reporting, social audit standards issued by the SRO have to be adhered to. So these aspects have been discussed in chapter 6. Now, simple indicators of social performance in select sectors. So first are in case of livelihood, indicators related to direct impact, geographical coverage, outreach, along with the social composition, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBC, then self-help groups and their associative tiers. Saving and credit information, then change vector, number of women and men working as change vectors, capacity building, self-help groups, farm intervention, then this NRM, gender, WASH, institution building, number of self-help groups or federations taking action on issues of gender, caste and class. Then there are specific programs, what's on land rights, youth, gross annual household income, finance leveraged and invested, community contribution, donor requirement. For example, livelihoods fund project, number of trees, tree species, mortality, amount of carbon sequestration, then HUF, amount of land treated, number of water harvesting structures, amount of water conserved, ICICI funded arresting distress migration, number of people who got wage employment in Manrega, social composition and average work days. So these are the various things. Then indicators related to sector-wide impact and indicators related to direct impact. Then there are indicators related to direct impact in case of education could be the number of coaches trained and supported, number of schools which have functional library, schools with building as learning aid, schools with active Bal Sansad, new students enrolled in government schools, dropped students enrolled back, volunteers involved in more than 3 campaigns, students enrolled for the ALP program, advanced learning program, then improved learning outcomes in demonstration schools. Then indicators related to sector-wide compact. Education department managers have 21st century leadership skills. School clusters, they are true units of change. Teachers education focuses on 21st century skills and future ready curriculum and assessment. So these are some of the indicators which we can use. Now, what are the issues or challenges in conducting the social impact assessment? First is lack of standard use of terminology. So there is a wide variety of terminologies used across different approaches. So it makes it challenging to compare results between organizations and programs. For instance, outcome and impact are used by multiple organizations to describe output in their methodology and calculations. Acumen Fund writes about its BACO ratio as a ratio of cost per outcome or cost per social impact, but it actually focuses on output. Similarly, contribution by the donor agency is explained in terms of attribution, share of outcome, or organization's contribution. So, lot of tools are there And so it's becoming difficult to compare across organizations because there is lack of standardization. Then lack of standardization of reporting framework is also there. Then another challenge in impact reporting is multiple frameworks or guidelines for social and environmental reporting at internal level. So with a plethora of international and national standards for social and environmental impact, organizations may find it difficult to use a standard format, and they may have to publish multiple reports depending on the framework it is adhering to. Investors or donors also have their own set of reporting guidelines, and they accept reporting only in their own formats, which increases the workload of the reporting team to prepare separate reports depending upon individual requirements of the donors or investors. Like if you take loan from a bank, so every bank has got its own reporting requirement. So similar is the reporting requirement. So the donors or investors who are investing in your project, they may dictate you terms that, okay, you report to us in this format only. Then there is lack of common measures within the sector. So few organizations consider cost effectiveness, few consider benefit cost ratio, and few organizations use qualitative approaches. So this makes program from the same sectors incomparable. So there is lack of standard use of tech terminology, lack of standardization of a reporting framework, and lack of common measures within the sector. Then unavailability of accurate and reliable data is also one handicap. Smaller organizations often do not maintain proper database on inputs, output, outcome, and impact indicators. So to get a true picture of social impact, it is necessary to get reliable and accurate data on various indicators, especially when the data is collected from primary stakeholders. So there are chances of biased data due to conflict of interest of stakeholders. Then assumptions. The projections on outcome and impact indicators are often based on assumptions. For instance, in education-based program, it is assumed that all the children will develop interest in higher education or will take up jobs in the future, which may not happen with all the beneficiaries. Then interdependencies. So interdependencies refer to the outcome of one or series of interventions that are dependent on other interventions or other external factors. For instance, the outcome of improved educational levels through a peer tutoring program is also dependent on the family support given to the beneficiary. Then time frames. So the social impact assessment can be conducted for any time frame. Some programs show impact in 3 to 5 years, like health initiatives or microfinance programs, whereas some programs show impact after 15, 20 years, say like environmental programs or programs related to behavioral or cultural changes. So it depends on the organization which time frame they want to take into consideration. Hence, the standard time framework cannot be used across different programs. So these are some of the challenges. Now let us see some questions. Pertaining to the advantages of the integrated social impact assessment, which of the following are not true? The question is regarding integrated social impact assessment. So integrated social impact assessment is when we inbuilt the tools within our own system. So, and there are certain advantages. As we know, like first is the outsourcing model, then partnership model, and then integrated social impact assessment. So these are the three techniques. And fourth is do it yourself. So in this integrated social impact assessment, regarding the advantages, which is not true. That means which is not the advantage of integrated social impact assessment. This is basically the question. So the first question, the first option is it provides benchmarks to track progress of interventions. So this is true. This is an advantage of course. Then impact assessment can be done at any time as per requirement of stakeholders. And comparable data is available from time periods, different projects. And fourth option is it requires expert human resources to develop, operate, and generate impact report. This is not the case because
That is true.
This is the case in case of external sources. So when we outsource it, so In case of outsourcing, it requires expert human resource to develop, operate, and generate impact rule. In case of integrated, you are using your own staff. So the second is not an advantage. Second question is on impact accounting system. These are the various accounting systems. So IRIS Plus is an impact accounting system which can be used by impact investors to measure, manage, and optimize their impact. Then which of the following statements is false regarding social impact reporting? Now on social impact reporting, let us see. The first is the format and contents of the impact report based on the objectives of conducting. This is true. He is saying which statement is false. The first statement is true, that okay, the format and the content, they will depend upon the objectives. Second is impact reporting communicates the social change to the stakeholder. This statement is also true. Then impact reporting is restricted to be in the form of an independent impact report. Impact reporting is restricted to be in the form of an independent impact report. And fourth is impact reporting can be in the form of an annual report. So this is also true. So this statement seems false to some. Impact reporting is restricted to be in the form of an independent.
सर रिपोर्ट तो वैसे इंडिपेंडेंट ही होती है, तो फिर ये भी रॉन्ग कैसे है?
नहीं बोल रहा है, वो कह रहा है कि इट इज रिस्ट्रिक्टेड टू बी इन द फॉर्म ऑफ एन इंडिपेंडेंट इम्पैक्ट रिपोर्ट. मतलब ऐसा है, ये कह रहा है कि आपको इंडिपेंडेंट इम्पैक्ट रिपोर्ट ही देनी है, ऐसा कोई जरूरी नहीं ना. इंडिपेंडेंट इम्पैक्ट रिपोर्ट भी दे सकते हो, और इट कैन बी अ फॉर्म ऑफ एनुअल रिपोर्ट आल्सो. इट कैन बी पार्ट ऑफ द एनुअल रिपोर्ट आल्सो. वो ये कह रहा है कि आपको इंडिपेंडेंट इम्पैक्ट रिपोर्ट ही देनी पड़ेगी, ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है ना. ठीक है. हाँ. So which of the following are the challenges of social impact assessment? Interdependencies, assumptions, time frames, and standardization of reporting framework. So ये challenges में इसने बताया कि interdependencies are a challenge, then assumptions are a challenge, and then time frames are also challenge. So standardization of reporting framework is not a challenge. Of course, rather it is an advantage.
ये लैक ऑफ
ये तो लैक ऑफ, ये तो सेकंड नंबर पे ये चैलेंज है, लैक ऑफ स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन.
सर इधर लैक होता तो ये सारे हो जाते हैं.
हाँ बिल्कुल
लैक होता तो
बिल्कुल
सारे हो जाते हैं.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. तो ऐसा है, अब ये चैप्टर 7 जो है, चैप्टर 7 को भी 15 मार्क्स का है. तो लेट अस वर्क ऑन दिस. और हर एक आदमी ग्रुप में कम से कम 5 क्वेश्चन डाले इसमें. ठीक है ना. सब लोग 5-5 भी क्वेश्चन डालेंगे तो इसमें 50 क्वेश्चन हमारे बन जाएंगे आराम से. इस पर थोड़ा सा वर्क करते हैं बिफोर वी मूव ऑन टू चैप्टर 8 विच इज ऑन दिस स्टैंडर्ड्स. और उस स्टैंडर्ड्स में हम क्या करेंगे, हम हाईलाइट, जैसे वो 4-4 वाला मैंने डाल दिया उसमें ग्रुप में ना. आई हैव ऑलरेडी शेयर्ड इट इन द ग्रुप. भाई 100 से 400, 500 to 800, ऐसे 900 to 1200, 1300 to 1600. उसको हम क्या करेंगे, एक और काम मैं करने वाला हूँ, उस स्टाफ को बोल के उसको हाईलाइट कर देंगे जो कॉमन है, ताकि कॉमन को कॉमन से ऐसे उसको ऐसे पढ़ेंगे कि फटाफट समझ में आ जाएगा. कोई ज्यादा देर उसमें लगने वाली नहीं है स्टैंडर्ड्स में. लेकिन उससे पहले हमें क्या है कि 7th चैप्टर को ना थोड़ा सा एक बार रिवाइज कर लेंगे इन द फॉर्म ऑफ क्वेश्चन आंसर. तो कल उस काम को करते हैं. मैं तो सबसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा 5-5 क्वेश्चन कम से कम डालो इसमें, है कि नहीं. बाकी कल करते हैं शाम को. ठीक है जी. ओके, गुड नाइट.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
थैंक यू.